Hey everyone, and welcome. So, have you ever thought about anxiety as just your body's natural alarm system? I mean, evolution perfectly designed it to protect us from danger. But sometimes that internal alarm system gets stuck in the on position. In this explainer, we're going to break down the mind-body journey of anxiety. I want to make absolutely sure this material is super easy to grasp, so we're taking the complex science and breaking it down into really clear, simple concepts. That way you can see exactly what is happening right beneath the surface. Stick with me through to the end of this journey, because understanding the root of these signs, that is literally the very first step toward taking control of them.
Let's start by grounding this in a very real, everyday physical sensation. Have you ever felt incredibly nauseous right before a big presentation? Or maybe your heart starts racing when you even just think about a major life change? That right there is your body physically reacting to stress. Occasional anxiety is completely normal. In fact, it's a vital survival instinct that keeps you sharp and alert.
Okay, let's dive into this comparison. There is a huge difference between healthy situational stress and a clinical anxiety disorder. Normal anxiety is just temporary. It protects you from an immediate challenge, and then boom, it fades away once the event is over. An anxiety disorder, on the other hand, that's when the worry becomes completely excessive, it lasts for a prolonged period, and it actively disrupts your daily life even when there is absolutely no real danger around you. To put that into perspective, look at this number, 40 million. In the United States alone, an estimated 40 million adults live with anxiety disorders every single year. So, if you've been experiencing these overwhelming feelings, look closely at that. It proves that you are absolutely not alone in this. Unfortunately, because of a lack of simple understanding and, a lingering societal stigma, so many people just suffer in silence without realizing what's actually happening to their mind and their body. So here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the setup, the false alarm. Then, the cognitive signs affecting the mind, the physical signs impacting the body, the breaking point of our behavior and emotions, and finally, the resolution, rewiring the brain.
All right, let's jump into Section 1, the setup. The false alarm.
Before we get into the specific signs, we really have to establish the biological baseline. Like, why does our body react this way in the first place? Well, it all starts with the amygdala. Think of this tiny part of your brain as your internal security system. Its whole job is to detect threats and instantly trigger your fight or flight response. When it senses danger, the amygdala just floods your body with intense stress hormones, things like adrenaline and cortisol. So in the case of an anxiety disorder, your amygdala is sounding a massive, blaring alarm and creating a very real physical reaction even when you're just sitting safely on your couch watching TV.
Okay, Section 2, the mind, cognitive signs. Let's see how this overactive alarm hijacks our thoughts.
Now that the alarm is ringing, we hit our first major sign. Catastrophizing. This is the brain's complete inability to stop jumping from one worst-case scenario to the next. It's kind of like a tangled web in your mind, where you constantly obsess over finances, or health, or even totally trivial daily tasks. And the absolutely crucial point here is that if this excessive cognitive loop dominates your days for at least 6 months, medical professionals consider it a very strong indicator of generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD.
Our next cognitive sign is insomnia, which is heavily driven by what we call sleep anxiety. For those with high anxiety, a peaceful night's rest feels like an impossible luxury, right? When you lie down, your brain just starts working overtime, ruminating on past events or dreading the future. Because your amygdala is pumping out such high levels of cortisol, your nervous system is kept highly alert. It literally prevents your brain from shifting into rest mode. And what's worse, a lack of sleep heavily impairs your brain's ability to regulate emotions the very next day, which just fuels the anxiety even more.
Have you ever been taking an exam or giving a speech and your mind just goes totally, completely blank? That is cognitive interference. Chronic stress overloads the prefrontal cortex, which is basically the executive control center of your brain. When you're anxious, intrusive thoughts just completely consume your working memory, leaving absolutely no room for you to focus on the actual task in front of you.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the mind's alarm physically ravages the body. Let's look at Section 3, the body, physical signs.
Our next sign is incredibly physical, palpitations. We're talking about a rapid, pounding heartbeat, shallow breathing, and a really tight, painful chest. When that fight or flight response kicks in, your cardiovascular system goes into absolute overdrive. This reaction can be so intense, so visceral, that it frequently tricks people into believing they are actively having a heart attack. But in reality, it is an intense, physical manifestation of anxiety.
Now, this next sign might actually surprise you: digestive issues. This happens because of something called the gut-brain axis. You see, there's a direct connection via the vagus nerve between your brain and your stomach. During a major stress response, your body intentionally halts normal digestion because it assumes all your energy needs to be diverted to surviving a physical threat. To put that into perspective, here's a fascinating stat. Around 44% of patients suffering from irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS, are also diagnosed with anxiety. Crazy, right?
Next up is chronic muscle tension. If your brain perceives constant danger, your body physically prepares to react by continuously contracting your muscles. But because there's no real physical threat to actually fight off, all that tension just accumulates. This unreleased preparation directly leads to jaw clenching, grinding your teeth in your sleep, incredibly stiff shoulders, and chronic tension headaches that just won't quit.
And all of this culminates in extreme fatigue. Having anxiety is literally like leaving your car engine running at maximum RPM all day and night without ever turning it off. I mean, this perfectly explains why someone can feel entirely exhausted and emotionally depleted even after a full night's sleep. Your brain is relentlessly burning energy searching for invisible threats.
Section 4. The breaking point: behavioral and emotional signs. Let's see how this compounding exhaustion fundamentally alters how we act.
When you combine that profound mental and physical exhaustion, it alters your behavior, leading to our next sign, avoidance. It creates this totally toxic cycle. A trigger leads to fear, and fear leads to avoidance. So you cancel that meeting or you skip the social event. While this gives you an instant sense of relief, neurologically speaking, it's a disaster. It acts as negative reinforcement, literally training your brain to believe that the situation actually was dangerous, which ensures your anxiety will be even worse the next time you face it. Another major sign here is irritability. Being in a constant, exhausting, high-alert state severely lowers your tolerance for daily life, which leads to frustration and sudden anger. What is highly important to understand here, and this is a big one, is that especially in men and teenagers, anxiety very frequently masks itself as anger, frustration, and outward irritability rather than the traditional signs of fear or crying.
And finally, our last sign represents the absolute peak of an anxiety disorder: panic attacks and a terrifying sense of impending doom. This involves sudden, intense bursts of fear. But more terrifyingly, it's often paired with deeply unsettling psychological phenomena, like derealization, where the world around you feels entirely fake, or depersonalization, where you feel completely detached from your own body. It induces this horrifying feeling that you are losing control or going crazy.
Okay, Section 5, the resolution, rewiring the brain. Let's talk about the path forward. If you recognize these signs in yourself, please just take a deep breath. Anxiety is a medical condition involving very real chemical changes in your brain. It simply cannot be cured by willpower or just, thinking positive. We absolutely have to dismantle the stigma right now. Your brain is not fundamentally broken and you are not weak. You are experiencing a medical condition that requires and importantly responds to proper care and treatment.
You see, your brain possesses incredible neuroplasticity. The exact same neurological systems that learn to be constantly afraid can absolutely be retrained to find peace. So I'll leave you with this. If your brain is powerful enough to trigger such intense anxiety, what could it achieve if it was rewired for calm?